Been listening to a very big podcast right now. You know, I'm opposed to podcasts, um, but it's Marianna in Conspiracyland. Listen to the first 8 episodes of that. I think there's about 10 or 12 all up. I don't want to go into the details of it too much, but you can see the narrative. Everything is narrative. I've been saying this for about probably 5 or 6 years, probably 6 or 7 years before coronavirus and the like. It's all narrative, and Matt Taibbi actually said that a couple of years ago, about 18 months ago, maybe. He said everything is narrative now. So he was agreeing with me, the point I made, and I'm not the only one, obviously, but it's got to control the narrative. There's a newspaper with a few. There's an Australian version. I haven't looked at that. Looked at a few PDFs of the English one, the Light, alternative newspaper. Lots of hippie stuff. Marianna travelled down to Totnes, which is a big hippie area. She went to Glastonbury, sort of alternative, sort of hippie type places, where it's a little bit big, alternative medicine, all that sort of hippie sort of stuff. So, and you might think, she tried to link these hippies, anti WEF and anti vaccine, possibly, and homeopathic types of hippies down there to January 6th, the Trump thing, and the Reichsberger, I think they're called. Bunch of neo reactionary Germans who want to overthrow the German government, restore the Second Reich, uh, the Second Empire, more properly. And yeah, I'm not really fussed. There's links to the newspapers. There's a little the democratic movement, the anti-lockdown sort of populist movements. I'm not really. I don't think those hippies are going to storm London in pointy helmets, Prussian helmets, and go and try to overthrow Downing Street. That's unlikely to happen, and even Spring herself will admit this. She's very careful in some of her wordings. She can't defame anyone, of course. There are still libel laws, and they still apply to journalists. So she's got to be very careful. She sort of bumps it up a little bit and then um, winds it back a little bit too. It's undulating her sort of assertions because she can't be too defamatory. I think it's more about narrative now. It's more about preserving their turf because the BBC in particular and the mainstream media, especially over there, they've completely blown it. They've completely destroyed their own credibility. There's Savile, of course, and a lot of the perverted things that were going on at the BBC. Seen Philip Schofield. Can't discuss that too much in another country, but still it's going broadcasting internationally. This video. And a whole heap of things, and they're just on everything, just about everything. The BBC have, and the mainstream media and the Anglosphere, all over it, have destroyed their credibility. And they can't really get that back. It's going to be virtually impossible for them to do that. So what do? They need to take out the opposition and try to smear the opposition, the alternative media, as much as possible to maintain their hegemony. So this is just going to be the beginning. This lady, this Spring, looks sort of like a doll. She does. She's an unusual looking woman, big round plate face. She does look like a doll that's come to life, and she's getting a lot of threats at the moment. She's stirring a lot of people up. She's just a front woman, and they put women in front to do this sort of thing Because once the abuse starts, you're saying terrible things about a woman. The trolls, so-called trolls, and so it makes it look worse. Resisting this propaganda looks worse. So, but it's just, I think it's the first shot over the bow in what's going to be a prolonged a war, so to speak, an info war, as Alex Jones might say, and between the legacy media and the rising internet-based, Substack-based, and all these other alternative media outfits that you can get online these days, because the elites hate the media, hate the internet rather. Correction, they hate the internet because their lies can be corrected or even challenged, instantaneously. Really, in the old days, you're not going to go to the library. When you hear something a bit dodgy, you can't sort of on the evening news. You can't just go into the library at 8 o'clock at night and try to look something up. It's very different. You can just do it in minutes or seconds, even to correct their nonsense, their fabrications. The elite media, so they're worried. I think there's going to be a crackdown on the internet eventually. They probably won't be able to do too much. Probably won't go the Chinese or Iranian or authoritarian sort of regimes. Probably not fully like that, but they will wind back the internet. There will be sort of an ongoing turf war between the legacy elite pro-establishment media, BBC, the soccer hooligan press over there, and the elite press, the Murdoch press here, Fox News, the cable channels, MSNBC in the US, all around the world, especially Western Europe, the Anglosphere, here in Australia. There's going to be pressure applied to to the alternative media. So expect that. This is just the start. This is just the start of the campaign. I feel this woman is the first in a long line of people who are going to try to grind down um, the alternative media, because the laws don't apply to them. Look at Andrew Neil. Was he on Channel 4 or the BBC on a major news channel? And we know, I can't talk too much about him, but I think Taki, the Greek bloke at the Spectator, has employed him for many years, and he was connected to the fascist Golden Dawn, which is so evil that they were banned. They were basically a criminal organisation, the Golden Dawn, in Greece, the Greek fascists. He's also a fan of Orban, the sort of crypto-fascist Hungarian. And Andrew Neil, and why is Marianna Spring not trying to get Andrew Neil dealt with? Because, he's pro-establishment. He's a fanatic, a vaccine fanatic. And so it doesn't really matter. If you can say what you like from the not lockdown, the pro establishment side on all sorts of measures. You can say whatever you want, but opposing that, not allowed. Not allowed to say anything. Not to have anyone a bit controversial. Maybe the light people have published some people who are a bit dodgy, but Andrew Neil's equally as dodgy, but there's no outrage in that because he's a rich old sort of sicko and pro-establishment and pro-Tory lapdog of pharmaceutical companies and fascists. No problem with that. So they're going to be at least as hypocritical. It's going to be pure hypocrisy. There's worse to come. Marianna Spring, she seems to believe in what she's doing, but she's just a dupe, really. She's not the main problem. It's the establishment, the elite, the global capitalist oligarchy that is going to crack down on all sorts of dissent in the next few years, and it's going to get worse.